What's up guys, it's Tommy here and welcome to a very exciting Liverpool transfer news video because Sky Sports are reporting that Timo Werner is ready to sign for Liverpool if Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool meet his 52 million release clause, which expires on June the 15th. So Liverpool don't have much time to decide whether to sign Timo Werner or not. I think we will sign him, but at the moment Liverpool are playing the waiting game because of the uncertain financial times of football right now, and no big club, even the biggest clubs, don't know how their financial situation will be in the next 6 months to maybe 12 months. So it's very difficult right now to say we can spend 52 million on Timo Werner. As crazy as that sounds, I know that Liverpool haven't spent a lot of money in the past, like two or three transfer windows. We basically spent almost nothing. And we also will sell players like Shaqiri, Lallana will leave, potentially Lovren, maybe even Divock Origi will leave. So Liverpool could recuperate as much as 70, 80 to maybe even 100 million pounds just from player sales. But that was before the crisis hit football. So maybe those prices will come down and it will be like half. Maybe we will only get 50 million for those players. So that's why Liverpool are a little bit hesitant to pull the trigger on this Timo Werner deal. But let me know, what do you think? Do you think Liverpool should spend 52 million before June the 15th, even if they don't know how the financial situation will be for the club in the next 6 to 12 months? Let me know in the comments below and leave a like on this video if you enjoy these transfer news updates, and subscribe, turn on the bell notifications so you never miss the latest Liverpool transfer news. And this is the Sky Sports report that Timo Werner would be perfect for the Liverpool system. The big question for Werner himself is, would he play at Liverpool? Would he play enough? He wants some guarantees from Jurgen Klopp that he will be playing regularly and not just sitting on the bench for like 80% of the games. Werner hailed Jurgen Klopp as the best coach in the world, and he believes that Liverpool's style of play suits him and he would love to join, in my opinion. So Jurgen Klopp basically has to convince Werner a little bit that he will play regularly. He's almost certain to leave RB Leipzig because of his release clause, but the big question is, what route will he take? Because, for example, Haaland was a player who was courted by many clubs around Europe. Even Liverpool were interested in him. But Haaland wanted a regular starting spot in the team. That's why he joined Borussia Dortmund, because basically they had a free slot at the striker department, in the striker position. And Haaland went in and he was playing every week straight away. And if Timo Werner wants that, then he is not likely to sign for Liverpool. That's the problem, because Liverpool have a settled front three, Salah, Mane and Firmino, and nobody can displace Firmino right now, in my opinion. Maybe the only player is Mbappe, but that's another story. And that's why it's a little bit complicated, this Timo Werner transfer, and that's why some pundits are saying that maybe Liverpool won't move for him. But Timo Werner has some brilliant stats in the Bundesliga. He has 10 fast break goals in the Bundesliga, and he is first in terms of the league rank. He has 21 goals, which he finds himself in second place in the top scorers chart with the 21 goals, 27 goals in all competitions. Shots on target, 47, which is also second in the Bundesliga for most shots on target. Touches in opposition box, he has 184 of them, which also puts him second in the Bundesliga charts for touches in opposition boxes. And the assists, even though he has 21 goals in the Bundesliga, he also has 7 assists, which puts him joint 9th in the Bundesliga, which is pretty impressive, to be honest. Thompson, the Liverpool captain and former Liverpool player who lifted the European Cup twice for Liverpool in the 70s and 80s, has said that Timo Werner would be a fantastic signing for Liverpool. This is what he said, Phil Thompson. I think he will give a realistic challenge to the front three. Salah, Mane and Firmino, they look as though they are set. We do have Divock Origi, but I think everybody realizes that he's more of an impact player for the last 15-20 minutes of the game, and that's not really good enough as a backup. we do need somebody a little bit better. Some people will say, will Werner get in and will he want to come to Liverpool? I think he would, and I think he does want to come. You look at Manchester City, they have got two top class players in every single position. That is what Liverpool need, and I think Werner would help to give us that. With the lure of Jurgen Klopp, I think that would tick the box for him, and I think he would be a fantastic signing, something that we do actually need. And Phil Thompson continued, I think we do need a backup for Andrew Robertson. He does play a lot of games. Neco Williams at right back, I do see him being able to cover for Trent Alexander-Arnold. But I think at left back, Larouci, the young lad who is a really good player, but I think we need someone a bit more experienced. My opinion, Larouci is not ready for the Premier League, for the Champions League level just yet. He's like a mini Alberto Moreno in that he's great going forward, but defensively he's suspect. He's not ready, he doesn't have the experience yet, and I think we need a more experienced left back. And I'm not sure Milner is the long-term answer there, because Milner is like 33 years old. And Phil Thompson continued, I do think we need a bit of a creative player as well. I know they are talking about Adam Lallana going, and he's that sort of player. If you go back 5 years, you would be looking to bring a sort of player like Lallana in. He's the creative one in that hole behind Bobby Firmino, and I think that is an important place we can look to strengthen the team. And there are rumors circulating that Real Madrid want to sign Sadio Mane, and Phil Thompson had a viewpoint on that. We had the same thing with Mohamed Salah last summer, fending off Barcelona, Real Madrid and Juventus. I think it was the same the summer before, after he had his first incredible season. Sadio Mane will attract interest as well because of the way he played. These things always happen in football. He was our best forward last year, without a doubt, and he does bring something great. If you are asking me who is the one that is happier at our football club, I would say Sadio Mane, and I think he's more than happy to be here. And Phil Thompson also had a viewpoint on how the Premier League should finish, and he said this, there is so much at stake in the Premier League. With the finances for the teams and whoever is going to play in Europe, the relegation situation, it's a massive amount of money. No disrespect to, for example, the Dutch league, but it is not as competitive financially as the Premier League. And I still don't understand why the Dutch league basically null and voided their season. There was no relegation, no promotion, no title given out. Only teams were given their Champions League and Europa League places. And I also heard that already 3 Dutch clubs are suing the Dutch government, Cambuur and De Graafschap, two second division sides who were almost certainly promoted to the Dutch Eredivisie, the first division, and also Utrecht, who was in 6th place in the Eredivisie when football was suspended, and they are also in the Dutch Cup final. So they had 2 routes to qualify for Europa League, and at this stage it looks like only the 5th place team will go to the Europa League and not Utrecht. So Utrecht are also suing the government, so it will be very interesting how it pans out in the Dutch courts, and they could go as far high up as the Court of Arbitration for Sport with this issue, so it's going to be very fascinating to watch that unfold. And former Liverpool captain and Liverpool legend Graham Souness also weighed in on the Timo Werner transfer saga. I think Liverpool will strengthen up front, and that's why I think they will go after Werner. He said, when we were the dominant team during my time as a player, every summer they spent money, they brought players in. It was the Liverpool way. I'm thinking of Fabinho, Andy Robertson. They have both players in the past that do not need to slot into the side straight away or make an instant impression, and that's a great place to be. Liverpool are there where they can cherry pick the best players, and they do not have to come in and be a superstar from the first game onwards, and the pressure is off them, and they can look around, figure out what it takes to be a Liverpool player, learn and adapt to the surroundings, to the playing style, to Jurgen Klopp's methods, training methods, and then when they are comfortable and ready, they can become a first team player. And I really hope that that is happening with Takumi Minamino. He had a 6-month settle-in period, and I really hope that he hits the ground running next season, and hopefully Timo Werner will do the same. And Sky Sport Italia journalist Gianluca Di Marzio suggested that Werner is a possible transfer target for Juventus and Inter as well in Italy, because apparently Timo Werner's agent are also in talks with not just Liverpool but Juventus and Inter. So Liverpool have to act, because if Liverpool don't trigger this release clause, I think that Juventus or Inter could very well buy Timo Werner, and I think at 52 million it's a really good transfer deal to do, and I would absolutely hate it to see Timo Werner play for another club, especially in the Premier League. But I don't want Werner to go to Juve or Inter, because I really honestly seriously believe that he would be a brilliant long-term replacement for Timo Werner, and we can't expect to replace Salah, Mane and Firmino in the same summer, because they will probably leave Liverpool at around the same time, maybe in 2 seasons. And if you need to replace 3 attacking players in the same year, that's almost impossible to do, and Liverpool will decline massively if we do that. So we gradually should replace or get a backup for them, each of them. One summer maybe one summer we maybe buy Timo Werner, the next summer we maybe buy Jadon Sancho, and 2 years from now we buy another forward player. That's how Liverpool should do it, gradually. You probably heard by now that the French Prime Minister and the French government announced that there will be no professional sports played until September in France, and that puts the likes of Paris Saint-Germain and Lyon in very dangerous situation, because they're both still in the Champions League. And how will they play against teams, for example in Germany or in Italy? We don't know their opponents yet, but how will they play against teams from those countries when those countries will continue their leagues, and in France you can have no football? So Paris Saint-Germain potentially could be in a situation where they have to host their games in Germany or in Italy, and also they will be only training, and no competitive games for them until the Champions League resumes, and that's a very bad situation. Also, what is very important, that the French league haven't decided yet what to do with their league. Crucially, null and void is off the table, and there will be a champion in France, and there will be relegation. The big question is, how will they decide that? There are 3 options. One of them is average points per game. So they award the places to teams on the highest average points per game ratio. So Paris Saint-Germain would be champions, but it will be incredibly harsh, because the 3rd team and the 4th team, I think the 3rd team is Lille, the 4th team is Rennes, something like that. They are only separated by 1 point, and the top 3 qualify for the Champions League group stage. The 4th place team only qualify for the Europa League. So can you imagine, you are missing out on the Champions League places by just 1 point, and you would have 10 rounds. If the French league wasn't suspended, you would have 10 games to fight for the Champions League place. But because of this global health crisis, and also because the French government decided, I think a little bit too early, that there will be no French football until September, you basically can't fight for the Champions League if you are that 4th place team. The second option is use the league table as it is now. So no average points per game ranking the teams, but use it how it is right now. And that is a little bit unfair as well, because some teams played 27 games, some teams played 28 games. The third option, and I think this is the least likely scenario, is go back to the halfway stage of the season and use the table then, because that way every team played the same amount of games. I think the average points per game makes the biggest sense for me, at least, because that puts the teams on an even keel. And what is significant is that if a similar situation happens in England, so if the Premier League is suspended or cancelled, all 3 options would see Liverpool as being crowned champions. And I think null and void for the Premier League is almost off the table. We can't say that 100%, because the Premier League haven't come out and categorically said that they won't null and void the season, but they intend on finishing it. UEFA suggested to all leagues to try and finish their leagues if it's possible, if it's safe to do so. So I really hope that some way or another Liverpool will be crowned champions, because we deserve to be league winners more than almost any other team previously. We have the highest points per game ratio ever in the English top flight's history, and that is saying something. That is saying how special this Liverpool team is. We have a 2.83 points per game ratio, which is almost perfect. Like, honestly, it's absolutely incredible. If we would collect the same amount of points for the rest of the season, we would end up on something like crazy, something like 109 points or something like that. The current plan suggested by the government is to finish the season behind closed doors, maybe in June or July, whenever it's safe to do so, but we don't know how the situation will develop in the UK. However, of course I would prefer if Liverpool won the title on the pitch, but if it's not safe to do so, I would take it if Liverpool were just awarded the title on a points per game ratio, because Liverpool are 25 points clear, and I would have no hard feelings about that, because I think Liverpool more than deserve to win the title this season, even if the season can't be finished. And Gary Neville said very harsh things about football potentially resuming in England. This is what he said. The FIFA medical officer said that football should not take place before September. I think if it was a non-economic decision, there would be no football for months. People are now assessing risk. How many people have to die playing football in the Premier League before it becomes unpalatable? One player, one member of staff goes into intensive care. What risk do we have to take? The discussion is purely economic. But I think if you do it, this is just my opinion, I think if you do it properly and do it with the right preparation, it's possible to prevent that. Because if you put the players, their families, the staff, everybody who is required to attend those Premier League games, if you put all those people in an isolated hotel and you basically self-isolate them, and you only play the games for like, you can play 3 games a week. We could see previously in the normal season, some big teams can play and have to play 3 games a week, 3 games in 7 days. So like, you could have a period in the Christmas period, and also 5 substitutions would help the managers to freshen up their side, so no player gets injured if they have a cramp or get tired by playing too many games. But if you isolate everyone, you test everyone and isolate everyone who has to attend the games, you can wrap up the Premier League season in a month. Maybe in July, you start in the beginning of July and you end the Premier League season at the end of July or at the beginning of August. And I think that way you could prevent from, like, the virus getting in contact with any of the players, any of the staff. If you isolate them at a hotel just for like 4 or 5 weeks, I think that's a doable scenario. But yeah, let me know what you think. Gary Neville continued, there will be people who will view it as a risk factor. Players themselves, we want to go and play. Players at the lower levels, we want to go and play. 1,400 players are out of contract at lower league levels. Clubs have had huge investment in this season. Think about what's at stake for Leeds United, for West Brom. It's absolutely massive. There are big prizes up for grabs. There's huge economic loss. Potentially, it clouds people's minds in terms of the risk that they are willing to take. I think it's difficult to pick it up because of the contract situations with regards to players at existing clubs. Neville continued, an extra month would be possible, but going into August and September would be difficult to implement. In France, the government stepped in. Our government is testing the voter. It's typical of our government. They drip feed in every day and test the water, and then we'll make a decision. They will probably wait for the Bundesliga and then go back to that. I keep coming back to the fact that when one player or member of staff goes into intensive care, what will they do? That's what's on their shoulders. They are not sure. The government have to give the green light from a health and safety point of view. I don't think any league will go against government guidelines. I was saying this 6 weeks ago when they said it was okay to go to the Cheltenham Festival. They flip-flopped. All the leagues were closing down and they had to make a decision, and they allowed people into the Cheltenham Festival, which I think in hindsight was a massively wrong decision. If there was an economic package put in place for football that protects clubs and players for a year, you will then get a sensible decision on health. At the moment in time, we are still seeing economic decisions driving whether or not football comes back. It needs to happen. If this doesn't reset football, then nothing will. The Premier League bottom club gets £100 million for finishing bottom. If they all took £5 million less, that would be 100 million more a season for the English Football League. He means the second, third and fourth division. If it was £10 million each club, then it would be 200 million. It's not huge sums of money just to distribute further down to EFL clubs, the grassroots. We haven't got an allied structure. Everyone has separate interests. Even clubs in the EFL have separate interests. We haven't got a commissioner. I don't even know who the sports minister is. Have we even heard from him? The other ministers are on TV for daily briefings. Why isn't the sports minister on TV to discuss this? I can only assume that behind the scenes they are working on something very special, a package to protect EFL clubs and drive down costs for fans. This is the crisis that enables us to do it. It's a very noble idea, but I'm afraid, and I have to say this, I think the Premier League clubs are greedy. The Premier League is greedy. They want to keep as much of the money to themselves as possible. And that's the sad reality. Football is a cutthroat, really harsh business. And they won't just hand out 5 to 10 million pounds to lower league clubs just because Gary Neville wants it to. And I understand his point of view. He's the owner of Salford City, and I would personally think it's a good idea, but I'm just saying the reality is the Premier League clubs possibly won't do it if they don't have to. That's the sad reality. It's a cutthroat business, really. But let me know what they think about all the points of talking points that we discussed in this video, and thanks for watching. See you later, guys. Goodbye.